Guess who's back?
Back again.
The ugly, not funny one. Uh, welcome,
uh,
welcome to the Guns for Everyone podcast,
the podcast.
hosted by EA Sports. Um, every time your thing comes up, EA with the circle, it looks like
EA Sports.
EA
It's in the
Sports.
game.
So last week you had an excellent guest, and I forgot her name already.
Ashley.
I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, it's her name is Ashley. Such a good guest. Way better than this podcast. She deserved a better host.
I think you guys got into some good stuff. I could tell it was awkward at the beginning, but
kind of, yeah, for sure.
Especially because she's coming at the gun culture community industry from such a personal outsider point of view, yet very integrated and like successful within it.
Yeah, what a weird position for her to be in. This position where it is she's in the gun world. She's in the gun world, but yes, she's not all at the same time. I mean, she runs a history museum about guns, but all at the same time, she's not a gun person. Fucking weird.
Good on her. Good on her for being disciplined about it too, because that's hard to do. So, if you haven't listened to the last episode, definitely go back and listen to it. Do you know how to pronounce her last name?
Lebinsky.
Okay. Yeah. Let's give a quick shout out to Empire Gun Club. They're having a free range day.
Day.
What is that? This weekend?
The 28th.
28th. Okay, yeah. Right after Christmas.
Right after Christmas. The 28th, which I believe is a Friday, ain't it?
Oh, no, I think Friday is.
Oh, it's a Sunday.
It's Sunday. A Sunday. Yeah, Sunday is the 28th. Sunday. Shout out to Edgar. His birthday's coming up.
The 24th.
24th. Going to be 35 years old again. Married for 30 years.
Married for 30 years. That's one of the kind of decent things about my life is that I've always looked 40.
When you're 25, you look 40.
When I was 25, everybody was like, oh, I thought you were 40. Like, nah.
Let's see. Donations. Donate to the podcast. You can do that in the super chat. Right? Is that what it's called? Super chat.
You could give stickers.
You can hype
stickers. You can hype it up. It's silly, but the hype helps us out.
So is that like an algorithm booster? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's basically, hey, I watched the show. I'm gonna give it some. It's an upvote, I guess, for those of you guys that are in Doucheland and you guys participate in Doucheland. It's an upvote. That type of shit.
I just realized it looks like you're sitting at an adult desk as a child.
I don't
know what's in front of your camera.
I had to switch cameras. This is my monitor.
Okay.
This is the other camera was up a little bit higher. Here, let me fix it for you so that you're not talking shit, because you're a shit talker.
I had to, because you were talking. Well, actually, did you talk shit about me on my?
Oh, I always talk shit about you
on the last podcast.
I always talk shit about you.
There we go.
It's easier to note the times I didn't talk shit about you on the podcast.
I have that many fingers. Yeah. So donations, very important to the work that we're doing. Very important to the work Edgar's doing, and donations are how we run. We don't have a money fairy, as I tell my classes.
We don't. We're working on it. Hey gun websites. We're slowly working on it. We're trying to get better. A big thing about running a 501c3 and the way my brain operates, and for good or bad, it operates that way. And I'm not very good at asking for money. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it actually costs me emotionally to ask people for money. So I super suck at it outside of of classrooms and outside of the podcast. Not
Yeah.
not a, and there's also this, you take money and then you're supposed to do things with it, and that's cool. But I had a conversation with somebody who writes grants, and he's been a part of 501(c)(3)s for a very long time, and it kind of helped switch the thinking. This was that conversation. I think it was last Thursday or Friday, whenever it was. So it was a good conversation, but yeah, we're working on the money fairy. We're working on siphoning grant money in our direction, but until then, it's just you, motherfuckers. It's just you. It's just you.
Yeah. I had a guy at the class ask the very awkward question in front of everybody during the debrief. How many people don't donate?
That's the opportunity to be like, well, let me pull it up. You didn't donate. You didn't donate. You didn't donate.
That's what you would have done. But funny enough, that particular class, I think actually most people in the class had donated when they signed up for their range portion, which is
Okay.
unusual.
Yeah.
But I told him, at least 50%, probably a lot more. It's really hard to tell sometimes because uh, you don't know. Sometimes people will double donate. Like they'll donate
Yeah.
when they sign up for the
Yeah.
class, and then they'll give you a cash donation. And in your head, you're thinking that's 2 donations, but it's really just one. So sometimes it's hard to tell. We do have a rough idea of how much money per student we generally expect, but it doesn't really lend itself to knowing how many people are actually donating. So,
Correct.
um, but yeah, I mean the 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 trick to this, I guess, is to get to people to understand that you get what you give out of something. And if you are coming to a class, did I lose you? Are you gone?
No, no,
Oh,
no, no, no.
if you're coming to a class and at the end of the class you're just thinking to yourself, "Wow, that was really interesting information." Okay, bye. Like, part of that I think generally is like you didn't put anything into it, so it's hard for you psychologically to take something away from it. As much as when we want to think that like people are mooches and everything, I don't. I mean, some people are, but I think generally speaking, people tend to interact based on an exchange of value, and so
Yeah, one of these conversations that I had, and you and I need to sit down and have a chat with it, and we should realistically get back to what we did at the beginning of turning into a 501(c)(3), right? Because for a long time we were an actual S corp and LLC, and we were a business running as a nonprofit, and obviously that's not very sustainable, and it's weird, it's confusing.
mhm.
It's kind of an identity crisis, to so to speak. And at any rate, part of this conversation was, his name is Chris. He's Doctor Chris to you, motherfuckers. and, and he said he was talking about 501(c)(3) that he helps run, and it's a self defense thing for kids. And he says the reality is of the work we do is that you run into humans who you do the work for, but there's also people who are not your audience that end up in your classes, but they're not your audience. They were they're there on accident. They're there by mistake. Maybe they're helpful. Maybe they're not. He said, but those people drain the fuck out of your program. They drain the fuck out of your life. They drain the
Mhm.
fuck out of your emotions. He's like, so it's hard to separate the here because for us it's guns for everyone. So yeah, I have this mentality. Well, everybody, like, yeah, everybody should, but not everybody should do it through guns for everyone.
Mhm.
And I think it's that acceptance of not everybody should do it through us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are a charity. I don't go to soup kitchens just yet. I'm like 2 or 3 months away from there.
Oh,
Uh,
they're gonna say meals.
uh, but I don't go to
Let's
soup
see how the
kitchens.
super chat does.
Yeah, I don't go to soup kitchens because I'm not there yet. Like I'm not in that position. Um, Oh, but I'm sure they have great fucking soup. Like I'm sure they have pretty decent soup. And it's one of those is changing the mindset of the student.
Mhm.
Um, that if you are participating, but you can afford $150 class, like it's kind of keep that in mind is you're not our demographic. You're not who this charity is for. And it's weird to say that. It's
Yeah,
weird
because it's
to
also like, part of the reason it's free is for a moral and ethical reason,
correct.
you know, so it really is for everyone, and at the
Correct.
same time, if you're here because it's cheap, but
Correct.
you're taking a spot from somebody who can't really
Correct.
afford to take the class,
Correct.
um,
So it's complex. It's
yeah,
complex. Is
it's
what
complicated,
yeah.
which is, probably shows in the bottom line.
Yeah.
Um, how do we change the culture so we don't think of it all as giving money, but rather investing in?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to because
one thing
I've heard people say in classroom prices, investment of in Mexico they do this a lot. It's an investment of 2,500 pesos. It's an investment. They don't say price. This class costs you. It's an investment, but I don't think it changes the mindset of how humans
it
interact
could.
with it.
It could. If you I think if you're saying that in the classroom, it could. Um, people
Yeah.
are very susceptible to language, and so, "Hey, good to see you, man." Um, it's very possible that if you use those words, that people would shift their mindset. One of the things I say in most of my classes is, "Everybody who donated before you made this class possible for you." And
Yeah.
your donations make classes possible for the next people that come along. So, um, and that's kind of the same idea, but I like the idea of that word invest,
Yeah.
because it communicates building something rather than just like an exchange of money.
Yeah. 'Cause it's such an uncomfortable conversation.
Mhm.
It's and that's why I don't like to have it again as we're having the conversation. I'm not a big fan of having it, but I think that's been a big problem for me is trying to run a 501(c)(3) without the begging component of it,
Yeah,
and that's all a fucking 501(c)(3)
yeah.
is
Well, you know
just
what helps is like having your own private island and airplanes
and
take
airplanes.
people to that private island because apparently money flows very freely in those types of situations. Even though you might not be very good with money and you might not actually be good at anything, you could still convince people to give you money.
It's crazy, dude.
Um, speaking of emotionally draining, it's starting to dawn on me finally why I feel so, tired
Yeah,
after doing classes. Physically, it's not that difficult,
yeah,
but emotionally, especially the more I invest, and the more risks I take in the class, and I don't mean like pointing guns at people's
correct.
heads.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean like interpersonal risks that you take, like takes a toll, man.
yeah.
I'm just thinking of how many classes you've been doing for how many years, and this is the way you always talk to people. I'm like, man, how are you still alive? So, like for instance, I made a difficult decision a few weeks ago to kick
Oh,
a
yeah.
young mother of twins out of the class, and I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about that. Um,
It still bothers you?
oh, I promise you, it'll bother me for years after
Yeah,
this, but I felt like I needed to do it,
yeah.
and I'm not the type of person that is quick to jump up and be like, oh yeah, I'll kick her out. Like,
Did she ever reach out?
no, no, I
I
never heard back.
I sent her a message,
I have her
and
Tupperware.
and it was a genuine message. It's like, "Hey, this is not what we normally do,"
Yeah.
and I promise you if he came to this decision, it was because it disrupted the class. I was
Mhm.
like, "But we've always allowed kids.
Yeah.
It's not something that we take lightly, and shit, I've pulled the class before because I didn't wanna be the asshole.
That is a dick move.
Fucking dick move. But I put it on the class. It's like, hey, are you guys okay with this? The kids are being loud. I want to be respectful of everybody here. I was like, but I'm gonna take a if they say she's gotta go, she's gotta go. I was like, but if you guys fucking say the kids can stay, you guys can't bitch about it.
What did they say?
So everybody was like, no, just let them stay. It's okay. Like the fuck it is. And you know me, I was like, I know it isn't, but you can't bitch about it now
You know
because you
what?
guys have
I
accepted it.
I would bet money that, that whole decision came down to whoever the first person to speak up was.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For
I've
sure.
like, I noticed this, at my classes, where you for the range class, you can park kind of in 2 different places, and one
Mhm.
place you can park is much more convenient than the other place to park. Um, but whoever parks first, everybody else parks where they
Everybody.
park.
Yeah. Yeah.
Occasionally, one person will park somewhere else,
Follow the leader, dude.
but everybody else parking exactly where everybody else parked. So,
Follow the leader.
um, yeah,
Yeah. I told her, and the problem with messages and texts and all that stuff is it doesn't convey how shitty we actually feel about it.
yeah,
Like it doesn't. And here's the thing: we don't feel bad about much.
mhm,
I won't lose sleep for taking somebody's gun apart and telling them to fuck off. I've done that a couple times since the new law. Um, and don't feel bad about it. I won't in the range if you show up as if I'm already talking about the safety as a concept
mhm,
and you show up in the middle of that, you will not participate in the class. Like I'm tired of waiting for people because once we start the safety debrief or the safety briefing, I'm not gonna start that shit all over again. Like I'm not gonna slow down an entire fucking class just for that. In the classroom, who gives a fuck?
yeah,
In the classroom, whatever. 5 minutes in, we're barely fucking saying who we are,
mhm,
but at the range. So like I've and shit this past weekend, I told the dude, sorry, dude, but it's I it sucks. You're a couple minutes past the time I talked about the safety briefing, but you can
yeah,
stick around, but you're not going to participate in the class.
yeah,
You'll have to come back some other time. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't
yeah.
feel bad about it. But that one is as soon as I seen the text, I was like, "Oh shit."
And then, of course, the you just, like, sent me the
The
screenshot with
screenshot.
it saying underneath, "You dick."
You did.
I already felt bad enough. Yeah,
So
um,
if she ever listens, if somebody gives this to her, I hope she understands how like I wasn't even there. I wasn't even a part of it.
yeah, you were
And
75 miles away, and you were like,
and I
Uh,
wish I didn't know that feeling of waking up, like literally waking up in the middle of the
oh,
night.
yeah.
Like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, so, um, there was a small safety issue in, class on Sunday. Um, somebody took their gun out of the holster in the staging area, and I told him not to do that, and, he's like, "Okay," and then he did it again, and then I got pissed about it, and, like, I'm like, "Hey, I told y'all, stop doing that. Don't do that. You do not need to take your gun out of the holster." And, like, doing this as long as I've done this, like, that kinda stuff, it doesn't even I don't think about it. It just it happened. You just
Happens.
say it, you know?
Yeah.
But then afterwards, I'm like, "God damn, that was kinda mean." Like like, it wasn't mean, It is a safety issue. It needs to be called out, but I'm driving home from the range class. I was like, "Man, I gotta maybe I should check my tone." You know? And this is what I'm thinking about, not like, the positive interactions. I'm only thinking about the negative
The negative.
interactions. And the
So
guy was
weird.
cool about it, like, he was a little bit caught off guard, but, um, he was in fact the guy who asked, like, how many people don't donate, So, he was concerned for the well-being of the class even after being called out on a
Yeah.
safety issue. And I think that generally you find that people, um, they have some gratitude when things are called out, in a respectful but maybe forceful way.
Yeah.
So, um,
Well, and the other students appreciate it too.
yeah,
even if they don't say much, even if they
Mhm.
themselves are like, "Holy fuck, this motherfucker yelled."
Yeah, because
I think
I've been in classes where that wasn't done, and,
dude,
um
it's crazy how it almost is encouraged just by not bringing it up.
yeah.
Like, I've seen seasoned instructors
Mhm.
just allowing this shit. Shit, I have, pictures of our homeboy down in Mexico, that I still need to send to Rob. But this fucker's running classes and people in the background just fucking guns everywhere. Just fucking guns everywhere.
That dude's going to be an angel someday.
Dude, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like,
Yeah,
and I'm at a
yeah,
point where I'm not sending him messages anymore because like, "Oh, don't worry about it," because you know the attitude,
yeah.
Angel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's just like, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Te acaricio, okay? It's okay."
I
It's
love that dude.
crazy.
I love that dude, but he scares the shit out of me. Um, but yeah, but I haven't always been as good as like, I'm getting better at this. I'm not saying that I've always been excellent at this, but, I think as you mature as, like, a responsible gun owner and you start to, you start to see things that you understand why it's important, why this happens or this thing gets said, as opposed to just doing it because we're supposed to do it. That we make that point in the classes. You got to understand what we're doing here. If you feel like you don't understand what's going on, you're not learning it. So why are you even here? So
Yeah,
make sure you understand, and that's a process. It takes a long time, and as an instructor, it's been a long process for me to better understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, or why when something comes up, why it's important to take the time to do it, correctly. So,
correct.
um, because a lot of things can seem like they're going well in a class, but if you were paying attention, you'd be like, no, this is not going well. um, you look at everybody's target and you're like, oh yeah, everybody can shoot. Like, that doesn't mean that learning is happening. It doesn't mean that understanding is happening. Speaking of that, I know we were kind of brought this up a little while ago. This concept of like not being a lawful gun owner, but rather being a responsible gun owner.
Yeah,
And we've talked about this kind of in the context of like self defense and deadly force. But the more I pay attention to this concept of like, I don't care what the law says. First and foremost, I care what's responsible. The more I pay attention to how perception aligns with goals and values. And this is like, the more I talk about this in classes, the more it's hitting me harder, and I think it's starting to hit the students harder.
yeah,
Uh, the idea that your actions should not be dictated by what the law says, or even worse, what you think the law says. Your
yeah,
actions be dictated by what is responsible behavior.
yeah. This kind of speaks a little bit to, from a legal perspective, to what Tanner is asking. Is we talk about safety, and I think this is kind of the same concepts. I think
Mhm.
I'm almost positive they are. Fuck it, I know they are.
It is. I know where you're going, because we talk about safety third,
Yeah,
so that means there's two other things,
correct,
to pay attention to first and align your values to first.
correct. So to answer Tanner's question really quick, so we don't leave him hanging, we could always come back, but um, in a safety brief before even stepping onto the range, there's not much that we can say before they step onto the range. The only thing I say before they step onto the range is if you come with your own gun from your house, it's preferred that it's already holstered on your body. You're basically ready to go. That way, when it's 10, 15 of us, we're not doing what that dude was doing, pulling guns out and then put him in the holster. And then there's always a temptation people want to have of racking slides and pressing triggers. And so I don't want any of that shit. I don't want any of that shit. And
Yeah,
it is because, go ahead.
to give you my example of that, like, we meet away from the range. We meet at a parking area, so I tell everybody, when you get to the range, do not touch your gun. You can touch whatever else you want. You can pull your stuff out. You can find table space and everything, but don't touch your firearms. Leave them in their holsters. Leave them in their cases. Leave them in their bags.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're the biggest thing before. they arrive at the range is I don't want you fucking touching the gun. I don't want you looking at the gun. I don't want you until we're about to shoot. It's basically gun and holster, holster on body, and that is fucking it. That is it. And then we talk safety later, but I think the legal component of it and the lawful gun owner of it is the same principle as um, our safety conversation is this idea of safety is not first. It can never be first. So therefore, the laws can't be first. What is legal, what is not legal, cannot be first. Um, I in classes, I initially get a resistance when I say when I explain to humans, I know you want to know about the laws, but I promise you, knowing the laws is irrelevant. And that kind of throws people off a little bit because they're like, but I want to know the laws where I can and can't carry. It's useful, but it's not going to help you become a better self defense human. You're here because of self defense, not because you want to know where you can and can't carry. That's a simple fucking Google search. That's a go to LexisNexis really quick. And by the way, I'm going to say, Shane, you're not going to believe me anyways, and you're going to go talk to AI anyways. Um,
Yeah.
or you're going to misunderstand what I say is like, there's no classroom. So it is the same conversation is I'm at a point where even in safety conversation, I don't think the rules are as important as doing the smart thing.
Mhm.
You can have whatever rules you want to a certain degree, but if you're not doing the smart thing, like that dude who in your class, gun out of the holster, he's probably a gun owner. He's obviously he's probably been carrying for a while. He's owned guns. He follows the rules until he does something that's not smart. He was technically following the rules, I'm sure, pointing it in a safe direction, finger off the trigger, knowing your target what is beyond. He's technically, but it was still risky what he was doing. It was still
It's
unnecessary,
unnecessarily.
unnecessarily risky.
Yeah.
It was unnecessarily risky. So he wasn't doing smart things, and
Mhm.
it's difficult to convey this idea of you have to do smart things. Fuck following rules if you're not doing the smart things.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so the idea of just for those of you who are not familiar, the idea of safety third is the first thing that, oh, there we go, not being first. What's first? Like, why are you here? That's first. What are you here to do? That's
My
the first thing.
my goal.
Because if it's not first, like, why are you then what do you don't belong here? Like, you came here to do something. And so that thing that you're doing is learning how to defend yourself with a firearm, in a defensive context. The second priority is, well, there must be risk involved in that. How are we going to identify those risks? Or let's go ahead and identify those risks. And then how are we going to manage those risks?
Yeah.
And then you get into our third priority, which is applying those things, or identifying how we're going to manage those risks. So if safety was your top priority, the last place you would be is on a shooting range with a bunch of strangers handling handguns with live ammo. Like, you can't be 100% safe in your bed, but you can sure as hell be a lot safer in your bed than you are on a shooting range with a bunch of strangers. Um, and yeah, so this was, I don't know if Mike Rowe came
No,
up with this, but it was
he didn't come up
popularized.
with it. He definitely popularized this idea of safety third, and I I mostly confidently say he's probably the one that speaks about it the best.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think we do a bad job at talking about this idea, but I think he's really good with words, and he does it.
Well, he's been in a million different environments where this is applied, you know, a million different dirty jobs. And when we think of dirty jobs, we tend to think of like dirt on our hands. But what it turns out is that a lot of these jobs are just flat out dangerous jobs.
Yeah,
And jobs where a single mistake could cost a life. You know, like my day job, a single mistake is never ever going to cost somebody's life.
yeah,
Um, but if you're around heavy machinery, if you're, working in dynamic environments like in traffic or things like that, um, if we're going to talk about safety, let's go to where the accidents happen. Let's go and talk about real safety, and not this um, this made up idea of safety in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a it's one of those other complex things because you're even in 2025, you're still fighting against the the flow of what's popular, and safety first is what's popular, and it's difficult to shake people away from this notion. But in self defense, it's kind of that same conversation. It's like, I want to be a lawful gun owner. Yeah, I get that. It's weird, but I get it, and I don't think you know. I don't think that means what you think it means, type situation. But I would much rather a responsible gun owner than a lawful gun owner.
Right.
Because
And a
how many
responsible person, just as simply put as you can, only takes necessary risks.
Yeah,
And when they do, they take the steps to manage those risks.
yeah,
So a responsible person keeps a fire extinguisher in the house. Like a responsible driver makes sure their tires are okay to drive on, you know. A responsible parent understands that you're raising a human being, and you're responsible for that human being, and how do you turn them into a responsible adult. So
responsible parent tells their offspring not to have kids.
yeah. Population zero for Edgar.
Zero.
So the idea of following the law as our top priority, number one, you can't. And that's just the nature of self-defense in general. You are doing something that is going to be judged as whether or not it is lawful. It's not a yes no. Like going 80 in a 30 is against the law. There is no way to rationalize that behavior. Um, if you run a stop sign, you broke the law. And the consequences might be smaller, they might be big, but you broke the law. But when you defend, you're going to argue why you did something that normally is against the law, but when you did it, it was okay. And so there is this idea that, well, we can just do it lawfully. Like, you don't know if you can do it lawfully. And we don't judge the lawfulness of your behavior before it happens. We judge it after it happens.
Yeah,
So the idea of following the law is, A, you probably don't understand it. And B, even if you did, the way the law works, it doesn't lend itself to a yes, no, you did follow the law, you didn't follow the law. And so what you do want to identify, if we're following the safety third model, your number one priority is to protect the people that are worth dying for and worth going to jail for. Your second priority is to try to understand what the risks entailed with that. And if we're looking at the legal perspective, to try to understand how you could end up in jail for doing that. And then your third priority is to manage those risks. Have an attorney's phone number on hand, have one of these legal plans, and only do it when it's necessary to protect the people that are worth dying for. And the ideas, a lot of people associate the idea of like law and order with something they're willing to risk things for. And I can't tell you how to value your things, and nobody should, I don't think, really try to tell you how to value your things. They should, I think, in general, we should be teaching you what you're risking for that thing, and then you decide if it's valuable. Because if somebody else decides what's valuable to you, then it's not really your value system.
yeah,
You've just adopted another value system, and that it probably won't stand a stress test. Uh,
yeah,
and so I don't try to tell people what to value. I just try to visualize it for them. What are you risking? So if you protect your TV, are you okay with sitting in a jail cell while your kids and their new stepdad watch your TV? Um, just to help you understand, oh, it's your stuff. You're willing to kill for your stuff. Okay. Just understand that maybe there might be things in your life that are more valuable than your concept of law and order.
yeah.
So, um, so yeah, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but it totally follows the same, that same model. So, a lot of people in the class, their reason for being there is fucked up from the beginning,
Yeah.
because their reason for being there is because they have to be there.
Yeah. And
But
here's the thing. They think they need a permit to defend themselves. I always get annoyed with the people who post comments that are like, "Well, the Second Amendment is my permit," because I agree with the sentiment. I like
Mhm.
I get it. I don't disagree in any way, shape, or form, but like it doesn't help the cause. It doesn't do anything. So these humans are kind of on I would say kind of on the opposite side where like I think I need a permit to defend myself, and but no, like I agree with the annoying person. As annoying as they fucking are, this is still the fucking United States of America, whether you like it or not. And in this place that my parents came here illegally to, and my cousins, and a lot of them are still here illegal. I just say just to piss people off that I come from illegal humans. Um, the this idea of self-defense with the firearm is a thing. Like I don't need permission, and if you really believe that, then like you don't need a permit to defend yourself. And I don't think anywhere in the law does it say you need a permit to defend yourself. It just says you need a permit to carry a gun. But it goes back to the value system is people have bought into this idea of lawfulness, and anytime a law passes, well, I got to follow that law now because I'm a lawful human being. And oh, another law passed, so I got to follow that law. So I'm a lawful human being instead of I'm just going to do what's right. Is it not lawful? And a lot of people put way too much weight on whether it's lawful or not instead of is it right or wrong ethically and morally.
Right.
Um,
And a lot of these people would tell you, like, I don't agree with these laws, and I don't agree with this law. But then they agree with some of the laws, and then they attempt to build their patterns of behavior around what's lawful first. And to some degree, I understand that, because like life is complex enough, and sometimes we need just a template to put over something and say, okay, this is at least my starting point. Like, how am I going to do this lawfully? But I think a mature way to look at it is to do it responsibly. Like, I understand where people are coming from, especially if they're new to firearms and they don't have any idea where to start. Well, let's just start with the black and white. Let's just start with what the law says. I understand that sentiment, but I think that maturing point of view is to say, there is actually a higher set of values here than what the law is, so that you can identify. It's important to be able to identify when the laws create unsafe behavior.
yeah,
Um, that's a more mature way to approach it. So, just as an example, the storage laws for keeping a rifle or a shotgun in your vehicle, uh, the rifle or shotgun case does not need to be out of view in order to be lawful. So you could take that rifle case, lock it up, and set it on the dash of your car, and that's lawful behavior. Not that anybody would, but a lot of people think to themselves, well, it's secure because it's locked up, and then they don't consider the fact that the gun is visible. And,
but there are many people who would do it just because it is lawful because they're guided only by laws.
well, to take that to the extreme, it's the people who shoot somebody because they think the law is on their side, not
Yeah,
because they believe that it's necessary in that moment.
correct,
So something as small as where I put the gun doesn't even compare to a decision to shoot somebody.
correct.
And so, and I see people who praise people who shoot a thief, and I'm like, that's not your life that's on the line there. You're building this sentiment of like around other people's behavior, and that person is about to go through some hell to answer for their actions. And you're like, yep, good shoot. Like, you're the least qualified person to judge if it was a good shoot or not, because you have no skin in the game. Um, there was a guy in Atlanta apparently this week who shot a couple of porch pirates, and one of them he shot in the foot. So I'm like, what? How did that happen? Like, either they were really far away or you were just blasting with your eyes closed. Um, And everyone's like, yeah, thieves should be shot and everything. I was like, you don't have any skin in this game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this guy's being arrested. He's probably going to lose his job. He's probably going to end up paying a lot of money one way or the other. And,
He's probably going to jail.
yeah. So, well, I mean, he definitely went to jail. He was arrested. So, like,
No, no, but he's probably gonna be convicted.
yeah, probably. Yeah.
It'd be tough. But at any rate,
And I heard I've said a lot of I've talked a lot of shit about Mark Victor, the attorney at Attorneys on Retainer, for his
uh-huh.
marketing. And a couple of discussions he's had where he's kind of giving self-defense advice rather than legal advice. But he laid something out in a conversation, and I think both of the head attorneys at that firm really have this understanding of why we have self-defense laws. Most of the conflict that you have in your life, you can outsource the conflict resolution for. And that's what a civilized society does. A civilized society outsources the conflict to a less um, risky process.
Yeah.
So if somebody steals from you, then the idea is that we have a process for dealing with that so that we don't have people chasing each other through the streets shooting at each other.
Correct.
Um, and that's the price you pay to live in a civilized society. If you decide that you're going to be a vigilante, then what you're doing is valuing, I guess, lawlessness over order. And like the state decision or the state conversation aside, it's kind of nice to live in a society where I can walk out my front door and not have to worry about like a Mad Max situation on the streets. Like we're not in Mogadishu. Um,
What an kind of an oxymoron, by the way.
what's that?
Thieves should be killed,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a lawful gun owner.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, so, uh, I get like it. It's if you think about the way you drive, generally speaking, you agree with this concept. You just
Yeah,
haven't really applied it to the
correct.
rest of your self defense life.
I've noticed that guns, everything gun related, people will not apply what they do in every fucking other aspect of their life. They will not apply it to the gun.
Yeah, it's weird.
So fucking weird.
Yeah,
Uh, quote unquote comfort. I bring this shit up all the time. People are like, "Oh, the gun has to be super comfortable." I was like, "That's fucking weird." I've never seen a video of somebody defending themselves like, "Ah, that's an uncomfortable gun. I'm gonna take it up the butt." Uh, like, nobody has done that. Or in construction workers come to the class hall a lot. I was like, "You really like wearing steel toe boots?" They're like, "No, I fucking hate it. It's not that comfortable." I was like, "Why do you wear it then?" It's like, "Well, because accidents might happen and this will protect me." I was like, so you do shit that is not super awesome because the end result would be worse if you don't wear the shit that's not super awesome. I was like, you do this shit already. Like
right.
you're already doing this shit. Like guns are not anything different than what you already do in your day-to-day life. It's quite literally the same.
Yeah. So, and this kind of leads into the thing that we said we were going to talk about, um, which is the concept of surprise in a dynamic critical incident. I don't know if you've given this any thought over the last few weeks since the last time that we had our conversation, but
Don't even remember it, but
we characterize self-defense incidents, dynamic critical incidents, as having three elements: surprising, chaotic, and threatening.
yeah,
The chaotic one, like, there's nothing that you can really do about that, because once it happens, like, you don't know what's going to happen moment to moment in the fight.
correct.
The threatening element is kind of tied to the surprising element because in an offensive environment, the more planning, the more mental preparation you have for it, the less threatening things might feel, because your brain has already prepared you for that dangerous environment. The surprising element, generally, we don't have any control over this, but in some environments, we have more control than others. Like in your home, you have more control over what is surprising and what is not. If you fortify your home, better strike plates, better doors, better locks, fortifying your windows with some security film or better locks or better quality windows. What you're creating is time, and time is directly tied to how surprising something is.
And I think that kind of ties into this. Is this protecting your stuff? Is if somebody, it becomes a strategy thing, right? It becomes a strategic tactful thing, whatever you want to call it. Instead of somebody came into my house and I didn't know what they were going to do, so I shot the fucker. It's not even protecting the criminal; it's protecting yourself from a potentially deadly criminal. Because most of them are, they just want to steal your shit. Because yeah, we don't know the intention of the bad guy, but we do know history, and most of history tells us that most of the people coming into your house are not wanting to kill you. They don't even want to fight you. They don't want a confrontation. They just want to take your shit. Most of them.
Can you put his quote up there again so I can read it out loud for
Yeah.
anyone listening?
Oh, and Isaac is. Oh, there we go. Oh, I don't know. For those of you guys not watching, Isaac just teleported into
Oh, my
a
microphone thing died.
uh, fucking Isaac teleported to the 1950s.
All right. I can fix this, but it's going to take me a minute.
Mhm.
So you could read Gun Website's comment out loud.
In my opinion, there's a difference between protecting your stuff, um, and not needing to know why a home invader is there. It's not the responsibility of the victim to know what the criminal has in mind. As you
So,
load,
yeah, you don't know. You have to make an educated guess, which is what
yeah,
we do in all situations. You have to
yeah,
make an educated guess. Um, and what are you risking with each of those decisions you make? So I think what Gun Websites is trying to say is you don't really know, and the stakes are very high if you're wrong. Keep talking. Let
correct.
me grab some batteries.
Yeah, and that's part of the surprising element. This is why we highly discourage choreographing your self defense. Most, if you look at a big chunk of training for self defense, a big chunk of training for self defense is very choreographed, very staged. Follows a lot of military tactics, a lot of police tactics. And military and police tactics, if we're being honest, it has a level of anticipation. I know it's going to happen. Um, Very rarely are military people put on a plane against their will to go fight a fight that they signed up for. They kind of knew what was going to happen. If the Orange Man decides that we are going to go into full on war with Venezuela, nobody in the military is gonna be like, "Ah, it was a surprise." Like, no, like he's been bombing these motherfuckers for the last month or so, maybe a little bit longer. Like, it's not a surprise if in a couple months he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna fucking just take over Venezuela really quick." Nobody's gonna be surprised. There's a level of anticipation to need to shoot. That's not the same as you being home and then surprise, motherfucker. And that has more to do with training than it has to do with am I being lawful or responsible or anything. Because I would still argue that my mentality is I'm not there to fight for the TV, and my training is going to be around defending humans, not defending the TV. In other words, if somebody's breaking in my front door, I'm probably not going to rush for the front door. I'm probably gonna evade to a room. I'm gonna go upstairs, dial 911. Somebody dial 911, barricade in that room. If it's appropriate, have a conversation with the bad guy. But most humans believe if I get woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm just gonna start slicing the pie, and then I'm gonna look super cool with the helmet on and my night vision goggles. And it's almost like they have prepped their brain for the most deadly of circumstance instead of I don't want to be involved in a gunfight, so I'm going to minimize the potential of me even getting into a fucking gunfight. But understanding that surprise, motherfucker. So
So part of the idea of the home defense is like, if I can take steps to add time to
Yeah,
my response,
yeah.
and I train for defense, not for choreography or planning to protect things, that
Or offense.
for
Let's make
offense.
it known that slicing the pie and doing those fucking maneuvers is an offensive tactic. It is not a defensive tactic. If I'm fucking slicing the pie and going through rooms, clearing the house, that is offensive. That is not defensive. Even in a home invasion, your tactics are offensive. And I'm not saying legally. I'm speaking from a tactics point of view. Nobody does room entries as a defensive thing.
So if that's how you're preparing and you give yourself more time, then ideally you'll give yourself more time to assess the situation with better information
Yeah.
and make a better choice. And better choice might still be to shoot the bad guy, but you're closer to doing it because you believe you need to in that situation, as opposed to not having a plan and just respond or reacting to it, or making a decision based on, well, they're in my house, so I could shoot them. Uh,
Which,
you
by
know,
the way, if the bad guy dies and they need to die, like no, and I don't think we have to. I think we have to make it clear. I don't think Isaac and I are feeling bad for for the fucking intruder.
yeah,
Like it's not that. Like if one of my friends was like, "Ah, fuck, I just killed somebody. They came into my house. I didn't know what was going on." I'm not gonna feel bad for the bad guy. It's gonna suck that something tragic happened, but I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, let's fucking light a candle for the bad guy that invaded my friend's space and pushed my friend to the point where they needed to defend themselves." Like we're not saying that, but there's a higher responsibility to myself and my family to also not be so quick to use the gun because it increases risk.
it increases risk, and you are not risking a few dollars here. You're not risking your TV. You are risking your life and the life of the lives of the people that you do care about,
Yeah,
and not just your lives, but your livelihood, like your hopes and your dreams for how you plan to live your life.
yeah,
So, um, I agree. You don't know their motivations when they're in there, but if the idea is I don't know their motivations, so I am not going to have any other response other than to just start blasting. That's still not a defensive mindset. That's not a responsible mindset. The mindset should be I am going to do what is necessary to protect the people that I care about. And if that's your goal and if that's your value system, then your perceptions in the fight are more likely to align with what is necessary as opposed to what is permissible or lawful. Um, and and if you get into the science of perception, it's very clear that your perception is aligned with your goals and your values. That like it's becoming more refined science all the time.
yeah.
But even at the molecular level, the way your brain operates is based on motivations and rewards um, and avoiding negative consequences. And so if it's framed as a legal question, then your perceptions are much more likely to align with what you think you are allowed to do versus what you believe is necessary to protect the
Correct,
most important things.
correct.
Um, and I've been listening to a lot of Andrew Huberman's podcast. If you're not familiar with Andrew Huberman, he does a kind of a well, not kind of he does a science based podcast, and his background is visual science. But he has a lot of guests on who touch all different types of science around motivations and perceptions and habit building and all these things. And he did a really interesting episode recently about the visual systems with another guest, and having this stuff in mind, it just becomes more and more clear that your ability to process information, make sense of that information, and then act on that information is very closely aligned with what you want out of that situation. As counterintuitive as that might seem, when somebody's kicking your door in, because we tend to think of the threat response system as a single system, and it's not really a single system. It's a bunch of systems built into working together within a system. So that's why we stress that so much. It's like you don't have time to say all of this stuff in a class, but we have time to say, think about what's most important to you, and think about how you're going to protect those things that are most important to you, and understand the risks of protecting those things.
Yeah, the toughest thing is to convey the idea that you don't know how you're going to protect the things. So learning how to defend those things is learning how to work with that very complex system in your brain and kind of understand how it works and it operates. And it's something that is so tough to tell people to do, is because basically what we're asking people to do is, hey, just for like 30 hours in 1 week, go learn about how the limbic system works and go learn about your body's natural reactions. Because I truly do believe that, and I've been saying this to kind of challenge myself because I'm afraid that not too many people challenge me in class, and it sucks. Occasionally I get one or two people, but I've been saying this more and more out loud is people want to argue mechanics in a classroom like, well, I prefer doing this. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck what you prefer. And it's not that I want you to do it my way. It's just if I'm driving a fucking car, like, do you think I'm gonna have proper posture and proper fucking finger placement and proper grip? And like, if my ass is on the ground because I tripped right before I shot you in the fucking face, do you really think my kinesthetic alignment is gonna be super fucking awesome? Like, I think we're worried about mechanics a little bit too much. They matter. I'm not saying they don't fucking matter. And if we're gonna be in the class, let's do them properly. But I think you and I both know is understanding how your body works, regardless of how it executes that in the moment. Your body's gonna do a series of things, and there's no untraining that. There's no unfucking yourself from that. It's gonna happen. Telling humans that, and expressing to humans what is really important in a gunfight is difficult because it's not cool. It's not douchey. There's no zins involved. There's no there's no overlanding involved. There's no tattooing involved.
So
It's
I
base
think I have a
it's basically
video.
Ben Stein
Mhm.
fucking trying to take roll call, and then here comes fucking Bueller telling
Yeah.
people to ditch class. Like, it's one of those things. It's
I think I have a video that kinda illustrates this.
go.
I'm not certain, but, I wanna give it a try. You probably saw this story, when it came out. This is, I don't know, a few months old. It made the rounds online, and, so what we have here in this, situation, apparently, if you can see this blurred out area across the street in front of this house, this is our bad guy. And it sounds like this house belongs to him, and maybe he shot some people in this house. He ends up, I think, setting this house on fire. But across the street, we have a husband and wife at their house, and they're watching what's going on. And the guy here is armed. This is his stupid face, um, and he's armed, and he decides that he's going
Works.
to confront this person. I mean,
Oh,
I
man.
mean, it's not his fault, but that's a stupid face. Like, and I, I'm
He does
I'm
look like
saying
a
this because I do
Neapolitan
also have
ice
this.
cream too. He's
Yeah, I have a
fucking
stupid face too, so I'm not judging, but um, so he's talking about what happens, and you notice here he's got his gun, and he points his gun across the street at this guy, and he's aiming at
yeah.
him. Right, and he's doing it one handed. I don't know why he has two hands available to him. And first of all, like, why is he out here? That's one question. Um, his wife, I think, is on the phone with 911, so that's a positive, I think.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be if somebody's acting erratically outside, why would you put less barriers between you and that person? I know you have the cars, but your house is a barrier behind your house. You could go behind your house and have a better barrier. So he's pointing the gun. So he's planning, like, this is a planned response. He's aiming, right? He's getting ready to shoot, and then he doesn't shoot. And he brings the gun back down again. And then the guy shoots at him, and he, without any planning at all, just raises the gun and fires. Bang. Like, there was no aiming there. There's
None.
no, like, there was no, like, cool guy Instagram pose. Like, he basically just raised the gun and fired, I guess you could say, instinctively. And I just noticed this, like, this is planned, didn't shoot, and then bam, that was unplanned. And actually manages to hit this guy from this distance with this shot. Hits him in the leg, I think.
He's gonna credit it to his training, I bet you.
Yeah, yeah.
He's gonna
Well,
say, "Well,
in the
my
video,
training."
when they're talking about it, he says, "I was in the military." So
Call my training. And this is
so
this is where it's so difficult because dumb luck is a thing. And come on, like that was lucky. Good for him. I mean, it worked out. I wouldn't have put
yeah,
myself in that position. I'd probably be inside like a little bitch. Um, I don't know that I would get that house across the street is not that important to me. So I probably wouldn't have done it, but I don't know. I wasn't there. Um, we talk a lot about this in classes when this shit comes up. Is you see the difference in a very he had the anticipation to need to shoot. Like he was kind of prepared, but he was not expecting to be shot. Like it wasn't serious. And then he went into improvised self-defense. He quickly went into improvise. It was a quick oh shit. It was no longer choreographed. It was no longer let me just point my gun just to feel cool and sexy and all that shit. It was like, oh shit, this is real. Took a shot, lucky. It worked out. Yay for him. But it's hard to argue this in class because he's gonna say it was because of my military training. I
right.
bet you he was a cook in the fucking military.
He's a pogue.
Uh, which whatever. Um, good for him for being a cook in the military. Not to knock the cooks in the military, they need them. We need cooks in the military, but that's not why he hit him. Like, let's be honest, that's not why he hit him because he's got military training.
Yeah. So Tanner said the tricky part of the concept you're speaking of now is that you can be a responsible gun owner that is not a legal abiding gun owner, and at the end of the day, not being a legally abiding gun owner is going to F you in the end. Maybe, but a responsible gun owner is going to avoid unnecessary risk. That, like that, if we're putting the priority there, so we'd say, well, I carry a gun with me everywhere I go because I know that I'm responsible for my safety. But if you try to walk into a federally controlled environment with a metal detector and security guard, and you're like, no, I'm just being responsible. Well, no, you're not. Like, you are taking on a legal risk that is higher at that moment than the risk of you being unarmed.
Yeah,
Could you get shot in a place where there's controlled access? Yes. But you are going to get caught if you walk into that controlled facility with the gun.
yeah,
So that's not, I mean, if you have bills to pay and you have people to support and everything, that's not responsible behavior. You're not responsible to your family by walking into a known criminal situation and deciding, let's see what happens. Like,
correct.
whereas if you go into a facility, let's say a post office, and you have the gun well concealed, and you're taking a calculated risk that, in the 20 years I've been carrying a gun, nobody has ever spotted my firearm and said, what is that? Because I know how to conceal the firearm. And I'm going to be in the post office for 30 seconds, and I'm going to not talk to anybody. I mean, I don't plan to talk to anybody. I'm going to be in, I'm going to be out. Well, you're breaking a federal law by doing that. But the idea is like, well, the chances there will be a criminal situation that arises out of this are very low. And maybe I'm being responsible by not doing unnecessary gun handling, not leaving a gun in a car when I don't need to. Like, so it's not a simple process to evaluate this risk. But the better you are at it, the better you can take on these risks and decide, is this a valid decision in this moment? Is this a responsible decision in this moment? So question, do you know they do not train the military to quick shoot legs from across streets?
Let them tell it though.
Yeah. So gun website says military law enforcement have huge resources, legal justification, often training specific to the event, shared understanding of their role in the mission, etc. Yeah, generally I think that's true. We could take a traffic stop as like a situation that they train extensively for, and it's something they do a lot of. So walking up to a vehicle when you don't know who's in the car and who might be armed and how do you handle that situation, that's a situation a typical civilian is not going to find themselves in very often. So yeah, dedicated training, resources, qualified immunity, which we could just kind of briefly describe as the benefit of the doubt, legally speaking. But as a citizen who's preparing for self-defense, none of that matters to us. None of that matters. Like, well, cops get this. I mean, well, if you're not a cop, then what does it matter? You have to think about you and your behavior and
Yeah.
your risks and how you're going to handle those.
Yeah. The shit that that surprise doesn't afford you is the preparing for, because I don't know what the fuck I'm preparing for.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what the fuck I'm preparing for.
So, like in the home invasion scenario, I've fortified my doors to give me more time, but I don't know how many people might be trying to come.
Have
I
no
don't know when. I don't know why. I just know that if they're going to come in the door,
dude,
I can
I'm
make that.
saying like something as simple as I'm taking a shit is
Mm-hmm,
going to slow down the way I respond to the situation.
mm-hmm.
If you knock out my door when I'm watching TV, I'm probably gonna get up and investigate because I'm one of those weirdos that like the fuck you knocking on my door for. So like I don't want to answer the door, but I go and investigate pretty good. But if I'm taking a shit, like I'm not gonna want to get up and investigate. Like I wanna finish this. It's
Right.
bad enough that my whole life is one long shit interrupted by life.
Dude,
Uh,
you have I was gonna say you have no idea, but you absolutely do have some idea.
It just right now, this is interrupting my shit. Like
Yeah.
it's the last thing I want to do is interrupt it with getting up. But it might be the bad guy fucking wanting to not hear somebody come to the door so that they can break in. So like that changes everything. But it's this idea of I'm gonna prepare for my self defense. Like that. What is the self defense though? Like what is it? What is it?
And
And
I
the
think it's like what makes this so important is because every other decision you make about how you're going to prepare flows from this decision on what you're going to value. So if we're talking about preparing for home defense and um, how like how much am I going to invest in fortifying my front door? Well, I have a gun, so what does it matter? Like
yeah,
that's that's the wrong that's
yeah,
the wrong value system. Uh, because if your value was to reduce negative outcomes with firearms and to protect the people in your home, then why wouldn't you spend the $50 to reinforce your front door?
correct.
So because people want to get in the class, they want to talk about tactics, they want to talk about the best bullet, they want to talk about the best gun, and all the rest of your decisions are going to flow from your understanding and your valuing of the situation. So um, I remember the first time I sat through Pincus's home defense class, I was like, when does he talk about the gun?
Eh,
But the way he structures that conversation is like, you might need a gun, but your goal is to protect the people in the house.
Yeah.
And that's not just the firearm. That's a bunch of other
Yeah,
things.
the very first conversation is we call it home defense for marketing because that's what people know it at. But we're not
Mhm.
defending the home, the actual home. It's still self-defense. Like we should still not confuse home defense or any other defense with car defense or business defense. And no, it's still just humans. Like I'm
Mhm.
here to defend humans. And if that shit gets in the way, and if that was a part of defending humans, then it is what it is. But my job is defend humans. And sometimes to gun website's point is like, I don't know, it happened so quick. I didn't have time. I processed the information that I could and I made a decision. And to kind of answer Tanner's thing a little bit is, yeah, you might do what you think is lawfully correct, like defend your home and still see legal consequences. So you might be fucked even if you do follow the law. We see plenty of cases where you look at it from our perspective, just nobody's on TV or on YouTube or whatever, and it's like, what the fuck? Why are they in jail? Like, why'd they get charged? Why are they convicted? And it seems like they did everything correct, but the jury and the prosecution team felt otherwise. And this is why putting too much weight on the law is no bueno. This is why choreographing and not I can't think of the words. It's just not allowing. It's so stupid, but this idea of just being present is something that gets talked about a lot. And in self defense, that's all you can be is just be present. So stupid, but
Well,
it's
it's the ultimate form of assessment. Like if you are approaching a chaotic situation with the um with a preconceived notion, then that will color your perception in chaos.
yeah,
So if you approach a situation with a preconceived notion of what you believe is lawful behavior, then when you respond to the chaos, it will be, is this lawful or is that lawful? Is this lawful or is that lawful?
yeah,
And not with that more objective point of view of like, what is necessary in this moment, given the information I have to protect the people in this environment. So, um, and this gets into really nerdy stuff, but I have been um, like my own, let's say, to go along with your idea of being present, my own perception of my spirituality with my role as a father, as an employee, as a citizen of my city and my town, as somebody who lives in my house, like all of that just reinforces my understanding of how do you value things and then how do you act out of that value. And so being present is good advice in any situation because you
yeah,
need to be able to respond to what is happening in that moment. You can't avoid having values, but your values need to be aligned properly in order for you to get the best outcome. And I would argue that in a home invasion situation, there's no good outcome.
correct,
Like the moment somebody targets your house, there is no good outcome.
correct,
So the best outcome is different than a good outcome. So and like this is, yeah, I mean this is complicated stuff, but it's also if you can communicate it in the class of just shifting people's perspective a little bit and then reinforce that with some examples and some understandings of how things actually work, not the way things we believe things work. We see this all the time with people and their ideas of how politics affects self-defense. And we say, yeah, politics affects self defense. Legally speaking, in the aftermath, politics affects it, but not in any way that you think it probably does. And certainly not in any way you can predict that it will.
yeah.
Um, and so I was going to say something else about,
Well, you were trying to remember. I was presented with a concept, and I've been kind of studying a little bit more. Very simple concept, very low level concept. And it's if you pay attention to super athletes, if you pay attention to CEOs, if you pay attention to these are humans who probably got lucky more than their skill got them to where they're at. Not to take away from their skill, but so lucky that they don't even know how it worked out. So if you look at a lot of athletes are very superstitious. Like I gotta wear these. Michael Jordan's known. I think he wore shorts or shoes or whatever. He wore a pair of clothing all the time because that was his lucky thing. And it's this idea that they don't even know how it happens, in spite of their hard work and all that shit. They don't know how it's happening. Their only logic is, oh, it must be my magic shorts. It must be my fucking magic rabbit foot, because they don't even know how it happens. Because if you listen to self-help people, which are annoying as fuck, by the way, the people that sell you programs, they all say the
except
same shit.
except Tony Robbins.
Except Tony Robbins, of course, except Tony Robbins, because he started it all. That
Yeah.
motherfucker invented it. Everybody else is just copying the goat. That's the goat. So he is pretty good.
Yeah.
Arguably, like he is pretty good, and I always appreciate his "I'm Not Your Guru" documentary.
Mhm.
It's a pretty amazing thing. But the point is that they don't know what to tell you. They always say the same cliche things, is they don't really know, because there's so many humans who follow their steps, follow everything, and nothing comes about it. Like nothing absolutely happens. Like they're still stuck in the same place. This is my critique of yearly events. There in March, there's SHOT Show, and then in March there's going to be another thing out in Atlanta. I think they moved it to Atlanta, and every year people are like, oh, this year's going to be the fucking thing, and then same year, the next year, it's gonna be, still doing the same shit over and over and over and over again, because nobody really knows how it happens. And
Mhm.
I think if we as instructors are honest about that, is yay, that guy shot the dude from across the street. Maybe he should have, maybe he shouldn't have, but it happened and
Oh,
it
dude,
worked
could
out.
you imagine if that guy came to your class and then
I just told him he got lucky.
well, no, I'm just saying, like, typically, if an instructor has somebody who comes to their class, trains with them, and then goes on to defend themselves, like, there is a very strong inclination to be like, "That's because that's what we taught them." And, like
Well, well, it happened.
and then so
Uh
you see that on video and you're like, "That's what I taught him?" Like, "That's not what I taught him."
It kinda happened, 'cause I had one of my students, you can find a story, he defended himself outside of his house near Sloan's Lake here in the Denver area, and, it was all over the news, investigated the whole 9, and he came back to a class, and he talked about his situation, and he was one of the people like, "Oh my god, thanks for the class, thanks for all this shit," and in the class, I kinda had to tell people, I was like this, you can never attribute what I talk about in class to why somebody was successful in defending themselves or not. Um, we can't. Like if we're being honest as instructors, we don't know. In 8 hours, I can't teach you every fucking variable that can possibly happen. If anything, all I can do is give you the confidence to be able to work with what the body does naturally. Like hopefully I convey that message, is just you just gotta quote unquote trust yourself and understand how your body works and your all that shit, and um slightly get better at understanding body's natural movement. But we've had about 20ish students, 20, 25 students, I don't know, that have told us that they've defended themselves. I can promise you it probably does look like that video. And even if it was perfect fucking mechanics, like I don't know if it was the class that actually did it. Like we
Well,
can't say 100%
yeah,
it
I
was the
think
class.
we certainly have to start out from the point of, like, it may have helped, but the defender, own your response. Like, you have to take responsibility and credit or whatever you want to call it for being the one in that situation and being the one that was successful.
Yeah.
If we talk about, let's say, a brand new gun owner, somebody who's never held a gun before, and they come to one class and they shoot for 3 hours in the concealed carry class, and they only learned one thing with the firearm: the presentation, the full extension, because what we've done is replaced any kind of natural behavior with the gun with some training, a trained response, but they may never practice it. And then you go and you watch a video and they do that thing. You're like, okay, well, it probably helped that they learned from the get
Yeah.
go on that kinesthetic alignment of the gun, on focusing, looking at the spot on the target that you were trying to hit. Um, but the decision to defend is their decision, and that's really mostly what it comes
Correct.
down to. And so, like, it's hard to say because, like, when I took Craig Douglas's class on the ECQC, the Extreme Close Quarters Combat class, the first part of the class is dealing with unknown contacts, and, like, most importantly, why you want to listen to your gut and then use whatever skills you have to make sure that people who are giving you a bad vibe don't get close enough to hurt you unless it becomes necessary, right? And so that really shifted my thinking in my daily life.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with, like, vagrants and people who kind of want to approach you and everything in a parking lot or something like that, having a reason why you understand why space is important gives you the motivation then to be the person who just tells somebody, "Hey, back the fuck up," when you need to, right? And so, like, I would credit Craig Douglas for helping me understand that, but I still have to do it,
Correct.
right? Like, I have to be the one who uses the deeper voice, look somebody in the eye and tell them, "I don't have anything for you. Get away from me." You
Yeah.
know? Um, so it's complicated, but I have seen examples in the past where people have attributed everything that they did to an instructor, and I'm like, that doesn't quite seem right, especially if you just saw that person one time,
Correct.
for one class or something like that. Now, if you're training as a group for a really long time, you're doing that more offensive training and that tactics, the team tactics, and all the processes you have to do to get from where you start to where you actually execute and all that stuff. Like, yeah, definitely, you're going to credit all that training because none of that is natural behavior. Like,
But yeah, but we've seen that that training only works in that context.
hmm
When they get the phone call and they say, "Suit up, motherfuckers, it's go time."
hmm
And then they're like, "Okay, we're going to meet at this point, and we're gonna go on the little truck on the side, and then we're gonna fucking stack up, and
yeah,
then we're gonna go in," and then that's when it works. When their plans shift, and if they get fucking ambushed from the tree, they start scattering, and all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, the fucker wasn't in the house. The fucker
yeah,
escaped. Now he's in the tree shooting at us from the fucking tree." All that shit just went out the window. Like, and you see a
yeah.
shift because that's happened plenty of times where you
And I
see
think
these.
in my ignorant point of view, the big key in that moment is how good is the leadership in that moment.
Yeah,
How good is the NCO or general or whoever's in charge of that group? How good are they at keeping that group disciplined in the moment?
yeah.
Um, and you see that. I mean, this has been true of combat for since humans have been around. Like, the more organized and the better leadership, usually the better outcome.
I think this
Um,
this happened. We have a video here in Colorado from, I think it happened. It was the one down in Centennial. If I'm not mistaken, it was um Butler's student.
mhm,
And I hate to say it that way, but that's the only way I think I can make the connection where they knew he had a gun. They were trying to stack up to go in, and then he started shooting, and then you can kind of see the officers fucking scatter. And it
mhm,
was no longer let's stack up orderly. It went from we're gonna go in there as an offense to this motherfucker shooting through the fucking wall. now every kind of quote unquote every man for himself
Yeah.
type situation.
Yeah, that reminds me of another video I saw many years ago of a shooting that happened down in Arizona, and police suspected this guy of dealing drugs or something like that. I think they found nothing in his house. I think they found no drugs in his house. But as they were stacking up, it all looked very organized until they busted the door open and they started taking fire, and then everybody kind of scattered and then piled up back in the doorway once the cops started shooting. So like once one cop started shooting, everybody started coming back to that place. And one cop is reaching over the heads of his fellow officers,
It's just shooting.
blasting with his handgun, with his head down, like straight up snack bar style with his
I'm
hand.
sure they taught that. I'm sure they taught that.
That's exactly how they learned it at the police academy. Um, yeah, when the training fails to meet the chaos, then it is very likely that the response is going to be a disorganized, unplanned response. Um,
Correct. I kind of agree with Rocket Man. Kind of. Luck equals preparation plus opportunity. Because it goes back to what you're talking about. The preparation isn't the skill or anything like that. It's switching the mindset of, oh fuck, I don't give a fuck what tool I have. I'm gonna do the smart thing. I'm gonna do the responsible thing. Opportunity, unfortunately, we don't decide. And I think that's the biggest issue is like we do not decide when that opportunity is going to come up. But the preparation is, I don't think it's what humans think it is. I think it's a simple, am I willing to defend myself? Am I not willing to defend myself? And that's it. Do I have the confidence to stand up to the bully, to the bad guy, to the thief, to the whatever? Like, do I have the confidence to do that? I think that's all that means. I haven't been able to prove otherwise. 'Cause there's
Maybe
so
not
many
even the
s
like I don't even know if it's the confidence because I think there are people that if you ask them, are you willing to stand up to the bully? There are people who would tell you either I don't know or no, I'm not that kind of person. But then when the situation is forced on them, the things that they really care about rise to the top.
yeah,
Like, I don't know if I could confront a drunk, armed person. I don't know if I'd have the guts to do that. But the moment that that drunk, armed person puts their attention on my kid, it's not a question of confidence for most people. It's a question of that instinct to protect, uh, that kid. Not for you, but no, I'm just kidding. We talked about that last time. Um, so like I don't consider myself confident in confrontation, but there have been situations where my kid is involved where it's like that doesn't even come up. It just my response is my response because my kids are involved.
even when
Um,
you didn't need to tell somebody, "Shut the fuck up."
I know, man. That was one of the most embarrassing moments of my entire life.
Telling somebody to shut
I
the
thought
fuck
somebody
up.
was talking shit to my kid, and I turned on him and basically told him, to shut the fuck up, and we both came to the realization basically at the same time that he wasn't talking to my kid. Yeah, and, he was so confused when I confronted him, like, you should
Yeah,
have seen the look on his face, like, "What is this guy talking about?" You know?
you should have ended it with, "That's what I would have said
Yeah.
if you were talking to my kid that way, but I'm glad you're not."
Yeah, just yeah, awful. Um, but, yeah, so I think that I have that other example too where, somebody confronted me because they thought that I was hurting one of my kids. They thought it wasn't my kid, and, as soon as he realized his mistake, he could not have been more apologetic about his mistake, like
It's weird how people forget adoption exists.
yeah. Well, I could see it from his point of view.
Right.
Public bathroom, crying kid, doesn't look anything like me, Um, but, like, that shift in his and this guy was not even, like, all there, he was drunk. But that shift from, "I don't care who you are, you're not gonna hurt that kid,"
Right.
to, "I'm such an idiot, I can't believe I did this." You know, like, um
You
So
can't even
I don't
you
know,
can't
the
even
confidence.
you kinda to a certain degree, once you're done being pissed, you're like, "Ah, I kinda respect it though." Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
actually told him that. I said, "I think that you did the right thing.
yeah.
I think that you might have maybe got to the right conclusion a little sooner." But, I told him, I was like, "You shouldn't feel bad about what you did. But
Yeah, for
you did
sure.
ruin my Father's Day." So,
You little bitch.
for those of you who don't know, I was at a public park trying to get my kid to go to the bathroom, and he did not wanna go to the bathroom, and if you've had kids in potty training, you may have experienced this, and this guy heard screaming and crying coming from the bathroom, and he comes charging in and confronts me as some kind of pedophile. Um, so that was a great Father's Day. That was so, um yeah, so, I remember what I was gonna say. It was going back to what Tanner said about, like, if you are trying to be responsible and you ignore the law, you could still get, screwed by the law. That's part of that responsible behavior is understanding what you're risking when you decide to do one thing over another thing. So, I decide that I'm going to, defend myself. I understand that I could go to prison even if I feel like I did the right thing.
Yeah,
So, that's part of the mature understanding of the risk that when we talk about safety third, um, that second step of identifying risks, you need to take a close look at that. You need to understand that to the best of your ability. But then you have to make a decision at some point with the information that you have.
correct.
And and that's an adult decision. That's why we call them adult decisions because you're supposed to have been able to weigh the risks and benefits, as opposed to a kid whose brain has not really matured to the point where they can do that reliably.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
S Speak for yourself.
Yeah, so we talk about that brain developing at different rates and like the frontal cortex developing last. I think to some degree, I this is not a very scientific opinion. This is just an observation. A lot of that development happens when it needs to happen. And the longer you go without needing to make those kinds of decisions, the longer it's going to take your brain to develop the ability to make those decisions. So in your case, having to figure out where you're going to live when you're 13 years old is different from somebody who's trying to decide like which Xbox game they're going to play, you know. Um so cuz we tend to think of this like, well, it doesn't develop until you're 25, and that I don't think that's really true. Scientifically, I know it's not true. It's a continuum of development.
Yeah.
And also from a point of view of if you have kids who are making grown-up choices at younger ages, then that must stimulate that part of the brain to develop.
Well, we talk about this as the warrior expert theory though. Um, so maybe it has something to do with it, but there's enough evidence in anything you do that if you have enough recognition of a problem, the easier it is to solve that problem, whatever it might be. Because and it has nothing to do with my skills got better or anything like that. It attributes to it. Um, I can be a mechanic for a week, and if all you have me working on for a week is brakes and suspension stuff, within a week I can start to recognize a pattern. If this happens and this is I become an expert in suspension really fucking quick. Really fucking quick. This is why you take cars sometimes to a dealership and not to a general mechanic. And a lot of general mechanics will tell you that. Like, yeah, if you have a fucker working on a Toyota Tacoma every fucking day of his life, within a month, that motherfucker knows almost everything there is what's common in a Toyota Tacoma. You take it to a general mechanic, might be a good general mechanic, but that general mechanic is kind of like, I don't know the problems with the Toyota Tacoma like a fucking Toyota Tacoma technician knows it. It's only because they've learned how to recognize the patterns and recognize the consistent problems with whatever vehicle it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, my
I
mechanic has been in that position where he was doing work for me for the first time on a specific vehicle, and he just told me like flat out like I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I know how to change a timing belt. I know how to do this, but I don't know what's going on with your car. This is the
Yeah.
first time I've ever worked on this particular motor.
And that's the he's an experienced mechanic. And this is what I talk about this a lot. Like, you can have all the experience in the world, it doesn't make you an expert.
Mhm.
This guy is an experienced mechanic, and he's probably an expert in other engines. He was confronted with an engine he's never worked with before. He's not an expert in that engine.
Mhm.
And if you are a mechanic, you understand that not engines are all the same. They're all internal combustion engines. The timing belt, timing chain, same shit, kind of. The way you get to it, the way you the fucking little tricks and the tools. Shit, sometimes it's tools. If you've ever worked on a foreign car, you need a fucking specialized star bit or fucking 50 millimeter crow's foot, and it's shit you won't encounter on a Chevy or a Ford. So like
So
it's
in the problem of self-defense, the way we are approaching this problem is that we build skills and use tools that, according to probability, are more than likely to work
correct,
given what we know in general about the
correct,
human body, about firearms, about people who shoot guns and people who get shot by guns, and how brains work and all of that stuff. We say, according to all this stuff we know, and according to the most likely scenarios where you're going to need to use these skills, this is a set of skills and tools that we're going to learn.
correct.
But as I've mentioned before, the way we teach the handgun is not very wide.
Mm,
It's a pretty narrow set of skills with the handgun. Um, the reasoning behind it goes very deep, and the probability of those skills and tools being needed for that specific type of conflict goes pretty deep.
yeah,
But the more things we add, the more likely they are to not work when we ask them to work.
correct.
So,
And then you have anomalies, right? You have anomalies that make headlines,
mhm,
and then people think the anomalies are the rules, like the mall. You wrote a pretty lengthy article about Elijah Dickin, and how his story was bullshit, but
mhm.
it was already too late.
It
Everybody was
wasn't
all
even his story, and that's the thing.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was it was a story about him, but it wasn't his story.
yeah. I wonder if he ever sold his Glock for twenty thousand
I think
dollars.
he did, but not for as much as he was hoping for. I think there was a bid that came up for $5,000 for it. So, um,
It was probably a pity one too.
yeah, it
Uh,
probably was.
yeah.
He's over
So
there making another account.
yeah, yeah, he bought it himself.
So for those of you not familiar with Elijah Dickin, he got involved in a mass shooter situation in a shopping mall, and the story was that he shot the bad guy 8 times from 40 yards away, and that's not what happened. He did shoot the bad guy from 40 yards away, but he also missed the bad guy from 40 yards away. And then he closed the distance and took some more shots, and then closed the distance again and took some more shots. And people were saying he did what was it, 10 shots
10
in,
shots.
I can't remember how much time elapsed. And so you get all these people who are trying to shoot at a human-sized target from 40 yards away on a flat range, in a certain amount of time. What they're not including in that time is the time he spent moving from one position to another position. They're
And
not including in that.
not shooting and moving.
Right,
Moving and then shooting.
correct. And
Yeah,
not pausing for people to run between him and his bad guy, and not telling his girlfriend to get down. Like, none of that was included in your stupid little drill that you did on the range. Not using a gun with effectively broken sights. Um,
his sides were
so
broken?
yeah, because he had wiped out on his motorcycle while wearing that gun, and there was damage to the gun. Now
Oh, shit, I didn't
the
know that.
sights basically worked, but if you picked up that gun and you were like, "Let me see how far I can shoot this thing," you'd be like, "Well, the sights look like they're damaged. Are they even aligned properly?"
Yeah.
So, um, if you go and look at the gun broker listing for his gun, you can see the pictures of the sights on there. So yeah, it wasn't his story. It was the news. it was the police, and it was people filling in the gaps with unknown, like there's gaps in the information, so they just filled
Correct.
it in with whatever they thought.
Correct.
Um, and it turns into the rule that you need to be able to do what the story was. And you get all these YouTubers running around being like, "Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I?" Like, it's not what happened. So,
Now, Jack Wilson, I don't think was luck. I always say this: the hater in me wants to say that motherfucker was lucky, but everything that you see him do is consistent with somebody who was on purpose taking a precise shot and knew what the fuck he was doing. Um, like everything about it is like this motherfucker probably knows what the fuck he's. I don't think he got lucky. Um, when he extended that gun out, it takes him about a second. Like if you really pay attention, it takes him about a second before he actually takes a shot. That's consistent with somebody wanting to align their sights really quick, potentially maybe even closing an eye to get visual focus on the front sight. It doesn't take long, about a second to accomplish that. Far cry from Elijah Ticken, who
mhm.
was basically winging it.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out for him. It didn't work out for him initially until he got closer.
Well, I mean, it worked out, but it also didn't work out. So, like,
Hmm.
if you're missing, that's not necessarily working. Um, I
Yeah.
think from a point of view of like what is likely to work to stop a mass shooter, what we routinely see with mass shooters is when they are confronted with an armed threat, they tend to stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we could say even a
Yeah.
miss shot has the potential to stop the
Correct.
shooting. We're not training to miss, and we're not training to say like it's okay if you miss. But if we're asking
Correct.
if he was effective or not, probably he was effective. Apparently, there is video of the Elijah Dickens shooting, and I would bet we're never going to see that video. It's going to stay locked up on his attorney's laptop and the police officers' computers.
Probably because it's
Um,
not favorable.
well, like for whatever reason. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons from a police officer's point of view and from a lawyer's point of view why you wouldn't share information that doesn't need to be shared.
Yeah.
So he was successful. Good for him. Um, was that a trained response? Well, we don't really know because we we can't really evaluate his training, and we can't necessarily take his word that it was a trained response because a lot of times the defender doesn't know. Um, was it dangerous? Of course, it was dangerous shooting in a crowded food court. Did he do anything wrong? I mean, if we just look at the outcome, we say tough to say he did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody else got hurt. The shooting stopped when he started, and and he
He
didn't
did
go to
kill the guy,
prison.
right?
He did kill the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he shot him 8 times. So, like, yeah, he killed him.
Well, 50
Not that
Cent
you
got
always
fucking
die.
shot 9 times.
Yeah, some people get shot 15 times and they don't die.
They don't die.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, and he is a hero. Like he's absolutely a
Correct.
hero for
Correct.
having the balls to and the wherewithal and the tool on him to do that thing.
Yeah.
But if we try to draw conclusions about what is necessary in a fight from that one very poorly illustrated example, we're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, and we'll say this again in the podcast, and I'll say this a lot in class. People grossly underestimate how easy it is to shoot a gun. Like it's
It's one of the
so
most common pieces of feedback I get in the debrief on the range is, um, if people are gonna actually give, criticism, why didn't we spend more time learning about the gun? Like, it seems like it would have been time well spent to go over the parts of the gun and all this stuff, and the answer is, like, it wasn't necessary
yeah,
for what we were trying to do out here. I'm not trying to teach you the parts of the gun, I'm trying to teach you how to defend once the gun is in your hand,
yeah.
and that part's not that complicated.
It's it's fucking easy.
Yeah.
Like that's what they forget. It's the difficult thing is the in between. Oh shit, and then it drawing the gun. Once the
Mhm.
gun's in your hand, it's mostly easy from there, mostly. We
Mhm.
do see some retarded shit, but for the most part, it's the in between, making the decision,
And
finding
I
the
would argue that a lot of the retarded shit that you see on the range is happening because people are overthinking what they're doing.
correct. They're getting
Um,
in their own way.
they're getting in their own way. So,
Yeah.
um, there is an exception to that, which is the over 60-year-old male
Okay.
who is apparently incapable of learning new things. I run into this constantly where, like, the most difficult students I have in the class, and I don't mean personality wise, just overcoming incorrect things, is dudes in their 60s and older. And I want to understand why this is happening.
I ignorance?
Maybe, but it's so consistent to
Yeah.
this specific demographic, you know. Um
Yeah, because we can't even say I'm being stubborn. We can't even say can't teach old dog new tricks because that's not true. We see old fuckers learning new shit all the time when they want to.
mhm.
Maybe it's just the I don't give a fuck anymore.
Maybe it's maybe it is that desire. But I don't know because one of the common things that I run into with this demographic is they're mentally get overwhelmed by what you're asking them to
Yeah,
do more than anybody else does.
got
So,
it.
I would say most of the safety issues I see happen on the range come from this group of people, and most of the inability to quickly remedy the safety issues come from this demographic.
Yeah.
So, it's not like they don't wanna be safe.
I wonder if it's the attitude of I've made it this long, so obviously I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Like, it just like, they forget that you survived in spite of yourself. Like, a lot of old people I used to think this was like, "Oh, that fucker made it to 70. Obviously, they're doing something right." Or we just don't let Darwin take its fucking course anymore, and
Yeah.
we protect them. Like, they survived in spite of themselves,
Yeah.
not because of themselves. And
Yeah.
we see this a lot in shootings is, um we see a lot of humans do some really stupid shit. The guy in Brazil, we have the dude in the tent, plays
Mhm.
the, Brazilian REI. The very first shot he takes, he's looking at the ground.
Mhm.
He's not even looking at the bad guy. He draws his
Mhm.
gun, and if you play at full speed, it looks fucking incredible, and then you slow it down, you're like, "Wait a minute, he's not even looking at the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's looking down," and then his fucking foot is in between him, the gun, the muzzle, and the bad guy, and then at some point, his fucking hand is fucking boom.
Yeah.
So he almost shoots his foot. He's not looking at the bad guy when he's taking shots. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that he survived that fucking Christ that's in Rio de Janeiro
Mhm.
is obviously on that motherfucker.
That thing works.
That thing was fucking working.
Yeah. Tanner
So
says, "What's the best demographic to train in your opinion?" Um,
I like newbies
yeah, brand
regardless
new people.
regardless of all of the other demographics that they might be a part of. Um, I had this lady that came to the class. I genuinely believe this is the attitude humans should come with in the class. So they had already in the classroom, the boyfriend or the husband had said, "Hey, we only have one gun. Can we swap?" I was like, "Absolutely not. How about you? Um, I'll let you borrow a gun. One of you guys. I don't give a fuck." So the lady shows up to the range on Saturday, and I asked her, I was like, "Hey, do you care what guns these are? The guns?" She's like, "It's a fucking gun. I couldn't give two fucks." It's like, "You're already fucking singing my song. That's what I want to hear." Because you get people who are like, "Well, I want to try the one with the red, the optic, and all that shit." Like, this lady was like, "It's a fucking gun," and she genuinely did better than everybody else that was there. That had shotguns before and all that stuff. Like, objectively speaking, if we're looking at the students subjectively,
Mhm.
um performed, did better, improved, like all that. She would win all of the superlatives. superlatives, those. She would win all of them, and is this was my feedback to her. Is just like I think it's that nonchalantness is your idea of the gun is just simply a tool that's going to defend myself if I ever need to. If I
Mhm.
ever need to. Like she wasn't emotionally attached. It's a Glock. It's not a Glock. It's got an optic. It's got this trigger. I like I say. So if we separate newbies, I think those humans are the best humans to teach. Are the humans that are not emotionally attached to a tool. It's just a fucking tool. If you gave them a fucking Dan Wesson, if you gave them a fucking Sig, if you gave them a Glock, if you gave them a fucking Canic, if you gave them a Ruger, like whatever you put in their hands, they're like, just a gun. It's just a fucking gun. And I'm going to use it if I need to in a self defense situation. It's kind of like getting to a carpenter and saying, build me a house, but this is the hammer you have to use. And the carpenter be like, well, I can't do it with that hammer because it doesn't. A real carpenter's going to be like, it's going to suck, but whatever, it's just a hammer. Like at the end of the day, it's just a hammer. Sure, are there better ones out there? Maybe, but it's just a fucking hammer. That's all
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, so I would say new students who are interested in what they're doing, because
Mm,
I think
yeah,
that there are new people who come who are there because they feel like they have to be there. Either somebody talked them into it, or they're like, "Oh, I
yeah,
want to protect myself and I need a permit, but I'm afraid of
yeah.
this." And so it like no bad habits plus a willingness to take some risks, emotional risks,
Yeah,
mental risks. We're trying to reduce the physical risks, but showing up and not knowing anything about something, and then knowing that there are people there who supposedly know more than you, like that that you want somebody who wants to be there.
correct.
Um, so um so Tanner said that's tough for me, not gonna lie. I don't know what part of that is tough for you. You have to tell us. Um,
Emotionally attached to a gun.
oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
most dudes, I'm only assuming, because most dudes
Mhm,
are super emotionally attached to objects,
mhm.
right? Because most dudes, without getting too, but it's true. It's 100% true. But most men in their married life and their home life, we're kind of the secondary, where we're not that important, right? Like we're there. We're just fucking there, right? We're Al Bundy's, if you will. Oh, have you guys gotten the package?
Did you send us a package?
I think so.
Okay,
There's a puzzle. The tape is just to make sure that the puzzle doesn't come apart.
okay.
That's all the tape is for. I thought you would have received it already. Anyways, in without getting too deep and without getting too trying not to get too negative, most men, again, we have those weird hobbies. We get so focused in cars and so focused in guns, and that's because for a lot of us, there's not much of an emotional attachment to the family. Not because we don't want to, not because we don't like to. It's because let's be honest, most of us we're just there. We go, we sit in our spot in the couch, and that's that spot, and he's gonna be there all fucking day long, and it just kids don't talk to you and they don't want to be around you and all that. They don't involve you and I'm just speaking generally. Um but it's
Well,
like that.
also, I think we're more object and tool oriented, just in
Yeah,
in the way our minds think,
that's
and even the
fair.
way we think of ourselves. Like I'm a tool for this, I'm a tool for that.
That's fair.
Um, and so when we pick up the tool and we're like, okay, this is my tool, and this is how, like, I'm attached to my tool. I know this about my tool. I know that about my tool.
That's
This
fair.
tool is better because I know. So I think we do get attached to it more than we get attached to maybe the
It's
task. But I found that as I get older, I care a lot less about the tools. When we're talking firearms, like I have a couple things where I'm like, this was one of the first guns I had, or like this one, I just think it's like pretty cool. But when it comes to the self defense, I don't really look at these things as like objectively, this one's better than this one. It's
yeah,
more about, am I going to be able to apply me as a tool to this
correct.
thing,
Correct.
rather than relying on that tool itself.
The
So,
funny thing is as we talk about this, there are guns now that we can't pay rent.
Yeah.
Now that we can't pay rent, I'm like, I want to sell this. And Letitia, she was the one that was like, you can't sell that gun. I was like, we're about to fucking lose the house. I think I would rather have a house. She's like, nope, that was the most Nagant. Out
Yeah.
of all the fucking guns, she's like, "You're really gonna sell that one?" I was like, "Yeah, it's just there. I'm not using it. I'm not. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
like. It's just a Mosin. Like
Well,
it's
it's one of
just
the only guns you have probably that's actually gotten more valuable over
it,
time rather than less
it's
valuable.
like
Yeah.
fucking 400%. I bought that shit for $75, and
Yeah.
you can sell it for like 500 right now.
Yeah. So,
And Tisha was like, "No."
so like I have we'll be wrapping this up soon, but Tanner's point here is correct, but more importantly, I want the best that I can get when it could save my life or lives or other lives when needed. And I'm just kind of thinking back to like I was working on my suspension on my truck and I got a special tool, a ball joint press. And I'm not an idiot. I know how presses work, you know. Um, but I'm trying to use the tool, right? But I don't really know how the ball joint actually sits in there. This is my first time doing a ball joint. And so I'm like trying to make it work and I'm trying to make it work and I'm trying to make it work and I'm trying to use the right tool and trying to use, and finally I just go and look at how the ball joint is actually constructed. And once I understand how the ball joint is actually constructed, I'm like, well, a torch and a hammer will solve this problem. And so I pull out the torch and the hammer, and lo and behold, it solves the problem in less than a third of the time it took me to even start using the ball joint in a way that would fit, or the ball joint press in a way that will fit. And this is something I think I've kind of understood throughout my life is you need to understand what you're dealing with, and then you might be able to improvise a tool to do the thing you need. But if you don't understand the problem, then the tool isn't going to help you as much. You need to understand the problem you're approaching.
How many
Um,
high points have you had in your class? It's never many.
it's never many. No, I had one last month.
How many times did it
Um,
malfunction?
it did malfunction that I can remember.
Yeah.
Um,
And
now,
I've had I think total 4 high points in my class,
mhm,
and there's only one that actually malfunctioned, but it was because he was using pro mags.
mhm,
Once he used factory mags,
yeah,
no fucking issues whatsoever.
yeah. So it's not to say that the tool is not important, but the attachment to maybe we'll say an over attachment to the tool beyond what its need is. You know, so like you ask people, this happens.
Mm,
I'm asking
that's
everybody what
funny.
they
I just seen his high point comment because I know that's where
yeah,
I didn't see that beforehand.
yeah,
I'm just now seeing the high point comment, but that's where everybody goes is like, "Oh,
yeah,
well, high point." I was like, "I've never seen in class a high point malfunction because of the high point. I've
yeah,
seen a malfunction because of pro mag, but never because of the high point." I'm not saying high point is the gun to go to in any way, shape, or form, but if we're being honest, that gun, Demolition Ranch has a whole fucking video on how awesome those guns are and how unlikely they are to malfunction. But people don't want to hear that because it's not expensive, because it doesn't look cool, because it doesn't have the optics cut, because it's not douchey. It's not douchey.
right,
Again, it's shitty for many other reasons.
yeah. Well, so you ask people, like I asked people in the classes, what did you bring? What gun did you bring? Because we're trying to find out safety issues if there are any, you know. And it never fails. Somebody's going to tell you, I brought the Canic, you know, blah 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 blah, you know, special ops model. And I'm like, okay, that's
Stupid
fine,
gun
you know.
for self defense.
Yeah, and then when, you know, we get on the line and they pull it out, it's got the compensator and the cut slide and, you know, all this stuff. Uh, and I really don't care. I just need to know what's going on with your safety devices on your gun. And then you get other people like, "What did you bring to shoot?" And they're like, 9 millimeter." And those 2 answers have no bearing at all on how that person is gonna perform or how
Correct.
they're going to learn in the class.
Correct.
Um, so again, I want to stress it's not unimportant what kind of gun you have. But if it's more important to you what kind of gun you have than that you understand the problem, then you're very likely to pick a gun that's not well suited to that problem.
Correct. Correct.
Um, So Edgar's sponsored by High Point. I wish. Uh,
Yeah, I wish.
actually, they don't have any money right now either. So, um, all
I
right.
wish we
So
were sponsored by any fucking most except Jennings. Won't
yeah,
take Jennings. Won't take Jennings.
are they even in
Yeah,
business anymore?
I don't think so. They filed for bankruptcy again. That doesn't mean they're not in business, but
Yeah.
um, so to your point, this is why I stress more for humans is like learn the science behind all of this because you learn kind of the hard way. But it's a
Hmm.
lesson is you can have all the fancy tools in the world, but if you do not know how it works, it's not going to help you.
Hmm.
Understanding the problem, the actual problem, understanding the concepts and the principle is more important than what tool you use.
Yeah.
Because I would rather a Jerry Michalik with a high point than a douchebag that's a zinner in a fucking lifted forerunner that just doing shit just to be cool,
Yeah.
that doesn't know anything about something. Because Jerry Michalik with the fucking high point, and I'm not talking about his trickery, I'm not talking about all that shit. I'm talking about his understanding of how a firearm works and mechanics and all that shit. We can discuss self-defense later. I'm just at its core. Jerry Michalik knows about guns. I will take Jerry Michalik with a high point over any fucking douchey YouTuber with a $15,000 Terran Tactical staccato
Hmm.
any fucking day of the week.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
fucking day of the week.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to stop. We did 2 solid hours. Tanner, thanks for the comments and the questions and gun websites if you're still with us, and Rockstar. I'm sorry, Rocketman RSR.
Recommend.
Um,
Is it Tanner? Tanner the same Tanner on both? Yeah, Tanner is the same
yeah.
on both.
And Joseph, good to see you again too. All right. So what do we got coming up?
Things and stuff and all that stuff.
We'll be posting. I did get dates for the intuitive defensive shooting class in March, so
Nice.
I'll post those up soon, and that's going to be happening in Colorado Springs. Excellent class, highly recommended, and looking forward to that very much. So,
Yeah, buddy.
um,
Sweet. I appreciate you guys. GFEnational.com. Also, check out our SAFE initiative, gfensafe.org. Gfensafe.org. There was only a way to fucking put it up on the screen and all that shit.
yeah, and Gabriel, you can find our training on GFE National, Golf Foxtrot Echo National. Hey, I did it. .com. So,
That one I do have. The other one is GFEN Safe, GFENsafe.org. That's where you can find the SAFE initiative, learn more about it. And if you can, please donate. We are a 501c3. This is how we exist, is through donations. We don't get sponsored, not even by High Point, in any way, shape, or form. I would take a High Point sponsorship if they didn't tell us what to do and how to do it and why to do it and all that shit. And we can still promote other guns and shit like that. That's the tricker. That's
yeah,
the fucked up thing is having somebody being okay with you still promoting other guns and saying other guns are still awesome and shit like that, not being exclusive.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so anyways, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. All the questions, all the comments, always appreciated. Thanks for the challenges and all that shit. I always appreciate when it's comments that are challenging the information.
yeah.
I know Isaac needs to pee really bad, so I'm just fucking
Can you see me
making
like
this longer.
shivering?
I'm just
I'm
trying
like
to
a
make
little
this.
kid.
We want to kill his kidneys. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
All right, peace.